Welcome to my channel. You know that usually after half a year and after a full year I do a review of my progress in my favorite books. So after 6 months of this year I decided to make a video about my progress in Kerby Rosanes books. Maybe now, currently, he is my favorite artist. Yes, I have several favorite artists, but still, I really enjoy doing everything in the latest Kerby Rosanes books. And even if they are not very easy for me to finish because of their size and because I usually use only pencils, I still enjoy every moment. Usually I don't struggle a lot with his books with color choice. I just need more time to be able to color his very detailed works. So I own 4 of his books, and Imagimorphe is my first one. I was thinking in the very beginning that Kerby Rosanes isn't exactly my artist. I purchased this book in the beginning of my hobby. I did several works and I didn't have any strong feelings towards them. So they were nice, but nothing very special. And I do have several works which I love here. I think that you already saw them 100 times because I demonstrate them in all my videos. This one is Not Bad, or Picture with Panda. Here I also have a couple of abandoned works. Here I practice how to do the ghost of the ship and how to do those thunder clouds. Here I practiced how to do water with ink pens and watercolors, so they are quite old, and honestly, when I have newest books by Kerby, of course, I'm not very inspired to return to Imagimorphe. If you ask me if I ever want to color something here, maybe just 2 pictures. This one with shark, because it doesn't have excessive amount of those strange elements which we can find on other pictures. I am glad that recently Kerby doesn't do those doodles or any hidden elements, so nothing here also. So this one is okay, and I do love to color underwater pictures. And this paper, you can use watercolor here with care, but it's at least a little bit possible. And the second one is this dinosaur, simply because I love this theme. I always was interested in this theme. Here we have many interesting varieties of dinosaurs, so this one is also quite good. So maybe this one has the biggest chances ever to be started. But of course, dinosaur there is also in World Within Worlds, and there it has more interesting background, but well, maybe. And I have 2 books by Lom Art and 2 books by Plume. I totally forgot which one is American and which one of the publishers is from United Kingdom, but what can I say, both papers are not perfect for watercolors, but in Lom Art it was possible to use with great care watercolor for the first layer. In Plume, I hate to use watercolors because it creates stains and water absorb pigment very quickly and you only get stains. So let's have a look at other Plume book, and it's Fragile World. Another problem of previous book with pictures with animals, that here animals are much more interesting, more realistic in natural habitat, so not only animal but also a background around it. It's much more interesting comparing to the previous book. Definitely in these books you can see progress of Kerby Rosanes as an artist, and he has amazing talent. So in Fragile World I did several watercolor backgrounds. Yes, with care, and on several pictures there are those famous dots, but here it wasn't as terrible as once I tried watercolor here in Lom Art. That was a total disaster. Here I really want to do this page, and my only problem with Kerby is that here I would love to have a list of those plants. I know that many of them are real existing plants, but I'm not sure exactly what are their names, so I would love to have them. I know that people in Facebook groups try to find botanical names for them, so maybe I will consult there and then I will do the spread because it's absolutely great. Maybe let me lay it flat here so it will be better to look at. On both pictures here I did a watercolor underpaint, here for the sky and first layer on the stones, but that on the stones I added a little bit of derwent drawings and then polychromos pencils. Actually, polychromoses are my favorites in both editions of Kerby. Yes, I can color with Prismacolors, but maybe I color with polychromoses because, well, if I color spread with Prismacolors, I would need to purchase a new set abroad in United States, and polychromoses, even if they are not cheap, at least I can purchase them here. So that's me trying to be more thoughtful about my art supplies. But I do love how both brands blend on this paper. Maybe polychromoses are a little bit more universal because at least for fur it's easier to work with slightly harder pencils. So that's why majority of pictures here were made with polychromoses. But here I added light shades of Prismacolors for those flowers. Here you can see that, maybe you can't see, but I can see that, and because of the watercolor I have those dots on the paper. Very strange reaction on the watercolor paint, but still on the sleeves it doesn't mess up with the final look of the page. What is messing up is those strange circles which I intended to turn into drops, but now it looks like strange soap bubbles. Anyway, at least I do love how those frogs look together with pink and cream flowers. So when I did this one, I already saw so many finished pictures for this, so I was sure that I simply repeating somewhere else idea. Here I started this one, and yeah, I think that one day I will return to it, but you can see that watercolors, it's acceptable and didn't bleed through, but it simply doesn't give you any beautiful gradients. But for the huge backgrounds like this one, of course it's easier to cover background with watercolor, so that's why I prefer Lom Art edition a little bit more comparing to Plume. At least for the animals I'm extremely happy that I have Plume. Even if in Vault Within and in Mythic Vault I can do the whole spread with pencils, that's okay, but in Vault Within much easier to do all those water areas, sky areas, areas of grass and leaves when you already have first layer of watercolor. So that was a very lucky moment that I got this one in such edition where you can use a little bit of water. Here I really wanted to try and to color it just with derwent drawings. I think that for this animal and for the background, natural shades of derwent drawings would be just perfect. Here I have another spread with watercolor background. Again, nothing special, and you can see that I tried to mask some of the areas where I wasn't particularly happy how watercolors behaved with a little bit of those bokeh circles. Here it matches the rest of the page nicely, and here most of all I enjoyed doing those flowers. It's a work which I did last March maybe a month after beginning of the war, so they were first pictures when I started to color again, and I was extremely happy that even after such stress I didn't lose my ability to color. So it was important moment for me. Another one where I absolutely enjoyed doing this bee, and I have two favorites here in this book. This eagle is one of them. Again, when I started it, I already saw many finished pictures, and you can't do anything different because color of the eagle it's just defined by this beautiful Philippine bird. You can't do it, I don't know, in gray and blue because it has such feathers, and I wanted it to be similar to the real one. But at least I tried to add something to this beautiful landscape behind, so I have a little bit of clouds here, a little bit of waterfalls from the mountains. Well, background maybe isn't perfect. I did it with pencils, maybe I need to spend more time, but eagle here is much more important, so I don't care about not very accurate background. And this one probably will be my next project, because again I wanted to use more frequently my Derwent drawings, and I think that I can use them here. And I am really curious to color all those tropical fruits and flowers. I also would love to test here Arctic pencils, so maybe for the fruits and flowers I would use Arctics, and for the face of the monkey, gibbon, I will use a mix of Derwent drawings together with polychromos pencils to work on texture of the fur. So that's a picture about I am thinking to, and I want to start. Another one where a watercolor was extremely helpful, because without watercolor I don't know how I would do this water background. I tried to show this swirl of water around shark, and all those fishes, they were much quicker to color with brush, obviously. Here I am happy with the tail of the tiger shark or something like this, but on her head I didn't manage to show this interesting texture, which is famous because of those pearl dots which decorate her gray skin, and here on her head I didn't manage to do them properly. I looked at a reference picture, I always use reference pictures here, and their head was with a less intense pattern, but maybe I still had to maintain the same pattern. Anyway, I did it and I'm happy. So actually here we have many nice pictures which I would love to do. I love all underwater pictures, so here we have many of them, and it helps me to think about what different colors from watercolor or from pencils I can use. Sometimes my water is simply blue, sometimes it has more greenish tint, so it's also quite good practice. What else I have here? That's my second favorite together with that eagle. Again, I did it last year, and when I had that huge stress, the only thing which I was able to watch, it's those TV shows about animals, programs about documental films about animals, and it was very interesting to watch about those Galapagos iguanas, about their lifestyle, about their evolution, and here I try to show everything I have learned from that documentary, that they need to spend a lot of time beneath the sun to warm their body, and then they are able to dive, because all their food unfortunately not on the empty stones but beneath the surface of the water. They have seaweeds which they use as a food, so they evolutioned in such a way that they are also able to dive, and that's where I try to show it properly. Well, I think that it was one of the most interesting skies I've ever done on my pictures, and I'm quite proud of that sky. And I do love this effect of the orange highlights from the bright evening, probably sky, here on all the stones and on iguana bodies. And I did everything here with pencils. But I combined Prismacolors more on the sky and some highlights here on the body with polychromasis. Yes, the next one is those dolphins. Here I definitely experimented with the water, and I'm glad that I added more of the greenish tint to it. It created good difference. This more yellow greenish and blue green water with more ultramarine color, which I selected for the sky. In the beginning I was afraid that the whole picture would be very boring, because what we have here is just gray, black and white dolphins. They are beautiful but not very colorful. We have blue water and blue sky. But then when I decided which colors I can use additionally, like this very pale yellow lemon here and more greenish yellow to the as highlights on the waves, I think everything started to look much more interesting in more artistic way. And finally I have this spread. I actually started to work in this book from this page, where I discovered that I can accurately use watercolor. This sky I did with watercolor. I managed to do gradient from 3 colors and they blended well, maybe not perfect but acceptable, and the rest I did with pencils. Everything is polychromasis, I believe. Here I wanted to experiment with unusual color of the background. I wanted to show the heat of the summer day. That's why my background is cream, sand, yellow and even orange. Well, I'm still not very good at doing black fur, but I think that with each new animal I start to be better. I try to do stronger contrast between shiny highlighted parts on the fur and shadow parts on the body. I try to use additional colors for color accents, so it was a good practice. Even if these animals they look a little bit ferocious. And well, each time when I color in this book I have this mixed feeling. I enjoy coloring animals, but behind each of the pictures there is such a sad story that they all are endangered species. Some are suffering from illnesses, some suffering because of the changes in their nature around them. And when this impression also adds to all the tragedies which we have now in Ukraine for our animals, both wild and domestic. So psychologically for me it's a little bit difficult to color in it, but I think that maybe I need to return to it and it will do me some good. As I said, for me now the most attractive one is this. I would love to do this one and picture with gibbon, which I recently have shown somewhere here. This one, because it's very colorful and I think that it will be quite interesting to do it. Next we go to waltz within a waltz, and I would say that it's my favorite book, but its only problem is that so many people already did so many beautiful pictures that I feel like I colored almost the whole book with my eyes. The same problem why I don't have Mythomorphia book, so the previous, because before I purchased it I already saw many beautiful finished pictures, so I wasn't sure that I will be able to do something individually from myself. So everything would be like a repetition. But well, I still love to work here, and when I manage to find some creative idea, then every moment of working here it's a big pleasure. So paper here doesn't allow me to use watercolor. Here I tried to do it, and apart from ugly stains, it also bleeds through even with a very small amount of water. So alone are definitely not for watercolors. Good thing is that mostly the style of the pictures allows me to work with pencils, and well, I would love to do the spread, but it's so detailed that I'm still a little bit afraid. Maybe let's start from the end. It will be easier for me. Here I have this collage page, still one of my favorites. Quite difficult to finish because it has many textures, wood, trees, metal elements, then the space elements, and it's also quite different subjects are mixed here. So when I did it, I tried to use several colors repeatedly, like for the space, for the reflections on the buildings, on the sky here, similar lavender color here and here on the main. I think that the most creative part was to do those golden metal gears and to do those hieroglyph broken stone. It was really very good practice. I already did similar thing in Hannah Carson many years ago, this Egyptian style background, and here I used this similar technique. So I didn't lose my skills and I am quite happy for it. Next one, I have this pterodactyl dinosaur spread. Again, a mix of Prismacolors, which were much easier to use for the background, for the leaves, and polychromos pencils for the pterodactyls and for their wings. Very creative, and I decided that here I can use unusual colors for the leaves. They look quite nice with golden ginkgo tree, but it's old work a year ago, but I'm still glad that I did it. I really want to do this one again with iguanas, but when I think about pencil background, I am still, well, not sure that I have enough courage to do the background, but I want to color iguanas with pyramids. A very nice idea. Here I have my snake. I still love how I did her scales here, especially on the upper part of the head. And I think that this one I did with Prismacolors for the background. They are much easier to blend, and polychromos for the main part for this train. I have one work in progress here where I'm working currently. I still continue my slow Egyptian marathon where I do different pictures from various books by various artists, but for Egypt elements, Egypt theme. So currently I'm working here on this very complicated page. You know that I am not bad at doing landscapes, I am not bad at doing golden elements, but I am terrible at doing patterns and wallpaper backgrounds. So that's why I did more interesting part, and now I need to gather my patience and to gather my courage to do those ornamental pictures, ornamental background in such way so that my main characters won't be lost. But it's interesting, and so far I'm very happy with my progress here. Oh, this one where I love sky, really love, because sky for a long time was a problem area for me. I was able to do simple blue gradients, but I wanted to do something more creative, so I started to experiment with various shadows for clouds and for the sky during various times of the day. Here I think that we have maybe morning, maybe evening. Anyway, where instead of blue I used a lot of orange, pink, cream colors, and sky looks okay, but I am not very happy with the scent. So I think that I need to learn somehow how to color sand with pencils, because here it doesn't look exactly like sand texture. Picture which was my first project here, and I'm still extremely proud of it. I saw many various finished pictures for this one, and I think that it's actually one of the most inspiring and one of the most interesting pictures in the whole books, because you can practice how to do many things here. First, a lot of interesting elements around, and then the icy vault inside of the lantern. It was interesting to use this quite classical contrast between warm colors around and cold colors inside of the lantern. Those crowns, they were my favorites since I got the book, but well, I didn't know what to do with the background. I knew that anything I would draw for the background, it would mess up, because the level of the beauty of line art by Kerby, I never would be able to draw something from myself and not mess up. But then last month, when I decided that it's time for me to experiment with my crayons, I have distress crayons and have King Art or something like this gel crayons, which I didn't know how to use at all, and I decided to try to use them as a light shading on top of acrylic background. Here I have dark indigo, dark Payne's gray, but it's almost black, and here I applied this very light blue gray, that's original color of the acrylic paint, and after that on top I used those crayons. Here it simply created a light halo around the crown. Here I was more experimental with colors, so I added on top of gray blue a little bit of greenish turquoise and a little bit of lilac, colors which I also have here on the main image. And I think that even if on the screen those colors, they are maybe not very visible, but in real life I can see this delicate shining shading around the crown, like additional colors to the initial blue-gray. And I think that such background, it doesn't distract attention from the crowns, and in the same way it's not very boring. So I'm happy that I waited until I did these crowns, and that I somehow managed to use this new medium, which I have for some time. I got it as a birthday present from a subscriber, but I didn't know how to use them properly. With water they were terrible, but here I used them without water and on top of first layer of paint, and actually they were quite helpful. So I hope that in the future works I will use them more frequently. Here they were quite helpful. I think that this one will be my next project. If I have limited amount of time, then this one. And if I want to spend more time, then I will do dinosaur in the beginning of this book. So what else I have? I have this spread also, which I did a month ago. Well, in the beginning this picture wasn't very inspiring for me, because I don't like to color repeated elements, all those books. But when I decided to turn them into some kind of rainbow to support the idea of a rainbow over the waterfall, and to do this gradient on the shelves, and then when I started again to experiment with the color of the water, all those purple shadows beneath floating books, it started to be much more interesting, and I really enjoyed doing this one. Of course, when I do water, white paint is extremely helpful, so I used it also here to create impression of the falling water and drops of water here. But on the left I have work which is probably my favorite in the whole book, because I had this idea of the compass from the very beginning, but I didn't know how to do the background inside. When I managed to do this more realistic looking rays of light around the decorative sun. When I managed to do this background, I realized that I can do it exactly like I imagined it. All those parts, they are already easy for me to do, all golden parts, but this background, this gradient between those rays and deep blue, deep violet, it wasn't very easy. I supported it with similar highlights on the black background, and I think that it looks quite magical and decorative in the same time. That's another one of my very first works. I don't know, it's lovely, but I have this strange feeling that when I did it, somehow those yellow leaves and even red flowers, they looked brighter. It's like they lost a little bit of intensity. So I still love the central part and idea of village under the sun and village beneath the moon, but for me now those leaves around, those plants around, they lack contrast a little bit and brightness, so something is bothering me here. Oh, this one was lovely, but because of the very long time I spent on it, I started from the easier part for those columns, ruined city beneath the surface of the water. Then I started to work here, and in the end, when I did those extremely bright green arches, I'm still not sure if the choice was right. When I did it, for me it was a right choice, and I was happy that I managed to use at least somewhere these green colors, which I almost never use. For me they are too unnatural, too intense. Here for the water palace, maybe it was okay, but some of the fishes and other creatures, they were slightly lost against such intense background. But otherwise, because we don't have any main character here, so we just have a whole picture of underwater life, maybe that's okay. So it's not a big problem that some of the creatures, they are slightly lost. So at least I'm happy that I finished such a huge spread. And nothing more to show apart from this one, which I really want to start doing, and I can imagine almost everything here, how I can do highlights from the buildings. And you can see that it suffered from bleeding from this page, even if here I used a very pale blue color, watercolor with small amount of water. I was so disappointed that I didn't finish it. I need to finish it somehow, and probably it will be possible to mask it with pencils. I just was so disappointed that I lost my inspiration to finish it. I will do it later. But this dinosaur I want to save, and I am sure that I will be able to mask those pale blue spots. It's not a problem when you color with pencils, but I need months of time to do it, and well, sooner or later I definitely will do it. And finally, my huge favorite, you can take away all my other books and you can leave me with this one, and I still will be a happy colorist. I will do everything here and it never will be boring for me. So in Mythic World I have a very slow progress, but at least all pictures I did here, I love them from the beginning to the end. And I have one work in progress here. Again, let's start from the end. Here I really tried not to copy beautiful cover and to use colors from myself. I am quite proud of this creative background. If you ask me, I think that's Prismacolor pencils mostly, because they blend so smoothly on the stones and for the sky. But for sure I need to look at video, but I think that it's Prismacolors. Another one of my favorites, this one, it's Polychromos pencils, apart from maybe small additions somewhere here. Muted turquoise, I think that I added to all were Polychromos pencils plus muted turquoise, unique color from Prismacolors. And look at this beautiful Polish castle in Krakow, that's Wawel castle, and here we have famous Wawel dragon. I always loved this story when I visited Krakow. and I hope that one day I will be able to do it again, and meanwhile I decided to do it. Black background, always good for everything, and here it added dramatic look to all those fire flames which you have around dragon. So I was quite happy when I decided to do it, and when I finished it exactly like I imagined. Here I have this huge spread which is currently my work in progress. I move slowly, but maybe in a month or two I will finish it. It's unusual for me because all colors here from those Indian temples, they are not familiar to me. I try to look at reference pictures and beautiful examples of that art, and of course it's very helpful that behind Kerby put all those explanations not only of the mythological hero but also of place which inspired him to do the background. Very educational, and you know that I love such uh, coloring books where I can learn something apart from enjoying the whole process. Somehow I love to finish spreads here, so on the uh, right I have this terrible creature with many heads from Greek mythology. I think that you don't need any explanations why I color this one. I have, well, quite big associations of all those heads with people who arrived to in our country, so I had those mixed feelings, disgusting and in the same time interest to finish it. But of course picture on the left was much more interesting for me. I need to clean acrylic background here a little bit from Posca. So again, that was from the mythology which is not very familiar to me, and it was interesting to learn about those creatures. They can be wild, they can be also protectors, and it was very interesting to do red skin. I decided that a color combo of red skin together with various turquoise blue could be quite good. So that was color palette which I tried to maintain here. With addition of gold it looks quite interesting. So I am glad that I tried something new, that red skin, and that final picture looks interesting. So many nice pictures here. As I said, I am ready to do everything here from first until the last page. Here more traditional iris. I think that I already decided for myself which are my favorite pencil combos when I do Egyptian pictures, for their traditional cobalt elements, for a lot of gold which they usually use for in their jewelry, then all those orange red colors. So I think that this one, it's a good addition to my Egyptian gallery. One day I will do a video about all my Egyptian pictures. That's one which I absolutely want to do. I actually have 3 pictures which I want to start. This one, yes, I need to finish that spread, and after I will maybe start this one, or maybe another one from Iceland. I will show you it later. Here I have this beautiful water goddess, and I try to use my favorite color combos, all those purple together with turquoise, together with gold. I think that they all look nice together, and I do love her crown. They are dancing with this water snake. Amazing composition from Kerby, so it was a huge pleasure to color it. Oh, another picture from Egypt. Oh well, I never will stop to do Egypt pictures in such way. Here it was a long work, but in the end I think it turned out beautifully. So here we have Greek mythology and 2 wild creatures, Scylla and Charybde. One is like a water swirl, another one like those creatures with additional heads. And I actually started it because I wanted to test this color combo on the necks and on the body from yellow into orange and magenta, and somehow I finished this spread. The most challenging part was this water sphere, but I think that in the end it turned exactly like I wanted it, with some even reddish, like bloody reflections on the water, so you can definitely see that they are not very kind creatures. That's the second spread which I want to start, but I need to finish those elephants and then I will start this one. Another spread. Here it was quite easy to color because I love to color gold, and I tried to do matching background here, all those mountains with a lot of lavender, which I added everywhere to maintain more romantic look for everything around the Kubera god of wellness. Here colors are slightly different, but also a lot of gold. I was quite quick to color the god himself, and then I was lost how to do the beautiful temple behind, because it's a temple of emerald Buddha, so you can see in real life how it looks, how it has very highly decorative those roofs. And I was afraid that behind the god it would be totally lost, and I didn't know what to use for the background. In the end, I used this strange shade of green from Colorsoft set, and somehow it managed to create some interesting background which doesn't mess up with the blue skin of the god and blue water. When sky was my last element, and I was thinking like blue skin, blue water, so what to do with the sky? And finally I managed to do this, to find this green, and I'm quite happy with such finish. And here we have those Irish or Scottish, probably Scott legend. Anyway, those marine creatures, which also took me a long time to finish, because everything from stones to the clouds and sky and water I did with pencils. On the bodies of the marine creatures I added Prismacolors, those shades of pale sage and sky blue light. They are so unique that I don't know how to color without them, but the rest it's polychromos pencils. Yes, that's all. No, I also have this cuteness. Again, I experimented with something unusual for the clouds. So clouds here, this strange neon gray color, neon green plus gray, but I think that it added some interesting touch to it. It's picture from Madagascar, where we have this huge bird. She's eating elephants, so I felt quite a pity for the poor elephant, but at least I tried to make him attractive by adding a little bit of lavender, and it was quite interesting to show all those gemstones. So it was a nice page, even if subject is a little bit sad, so I really felt quite bad for the elephant. Yes, and that's somewhere I had the third picture which I want to start with. Here, this one. Maybe later. Mythic World is currently my favorite, and I hope that I managed to finish those two works in progress. I don't want to push myself, because here I think more about quality rather than speed, but still I'm quite happy with my progress. Yes, I distract myself to the more simple pictures, but it helps me not to be bored, not to be overwhelmed with such detailed pictures. So I do breaks, and then I return to the books with bigger passion and with big love to the art of Kerby Rosanes. I hope that you loved my works here, and I hope that in the end of the year, in December, I will return to you with all these books, but with much bigger amount of finished works. Thank you, and I will see you very soon.